Welcome to another episode of Ask Iconic. This time I've got my friend and business partner, Adam Tromp here, and we're going to pose the same question that we did with Ollie just a little while ago. Adam, what is the bike, in your long, extensive history of motorcycles and stuff you own, what is the bike you regret selling the most?
You know, it's not so much a particular bike that's that rare that you couldn't find anywhere. It's just, I can't do one. I got to do two. There's just two bikes to me that were incredibly instrumental in just my whole bike life, if you will.
Yeah.
Before even Iconic, I couldn't even tell you how many bikes I've owned. I probably owned 60, maybe more. I don't know. I had a lot. Every time something new came out, I'd always run and get it. But anyway, there's two bikes. Let me start with the latter first, because I'll tell you why. I was on this mission, right? And I didn't want to relive my childhood. I wanted to just have a successful life. I didn't want my kids to suffer like I did as a child. I had a pretty rough start. But I promised myself when I hit a certain threshold in life, I'm going to get this one bike I had to have. And so things just went right. The stars lined up. I worked my tail off, yada, yada, yada. I found this job and I made a deal with the CEO that if I could build this 800,000 square foot warehouse and get all these things sorted out, he'd give me a promotion to SVP, which was a big deal. I mean, I'm talking, I was already making decent money, but that basically gave me like a 50, almost like if I remember right, it might have been double my salary.
And you were young back then.
At that point, this is the latter part, so I'm probably like 30 at that point.
Okay.
But anyway, and my ex-wife and I were really close, we're still friends. And so she said to me, she goes, when you get this, what are you gonna do? And I go, I'm gonna rush out and buy a bike. And it was, I just had it. I had pictures of it and I had brochures of it. It was the 2002-ish MV Agusta F4, the 750.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't really even, they were just bringing them in. They were kind of gray market at the time. I think I got mine through Fast By Farachi. Couldn't get it registered in California, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
That didn't even matter to me. I just had to have this bike. So as soon as I got the promotion, I got my first paycheck, and I'm like, just ran out there and got it with my credit card, and I just had to have it. It was just so cool, and I have a couple pictures of it. I'll have
we'll share
add to the content. But yeah, that to me was just kind of like, I've made it. Like, I've made it, and that bike was really important to me. And again, you can find those bikes. It's not that rare, but to me, it was just one of those things. One day I want to own again, and I want to just have it because it was, you know what it is. It's like the turning point.
Well, so I haven't seen the photos yet. Is this the all silver one?
Yep.
Okay, so these are fairly rare, the silver ones.
Yeah.
The Evo 2s or something like that. And the only reason I bring this up is because we actually have a 0 mile one that's going to be going up on the auction site in just a moment. So it seems fitting to mention that. Yeah. So we have a 0 mile one that's going to be going up on the auction site. And just this morning we had someone submit one out of North Carolina. Another one that's, it's got 20-something thousand miles on it if someone wants a rider. So those will be coming up depending on how quickly this video gets edited, whatever, similar timing, but it'd be cool to see those.
Yeah, the 0 mile
and
would
compare
be
them to your
tempting.
bike. Yeah.
Never been on our own bikes, but I have to tell you, there's so many tempting ones. And don't get me wrong, there's been a ton of bikes that have come through Iconic since we started it that, I'd love to have. And I've always dreamed of owning, but it's just not the right time. But that bike was just impactful.
Okay.
The bike that really, really set the whole craziness on fire, though, is a ZX7 as we call them back home in Australia. I was, what was I? Probably 23, 24. I'd already had a bunch of bikes. I had an 86 Ninja, which is all I could afford back then. I had an FZR 600, which is all I could afford. But then I finally went out and got the new ZX7 when it first came out. Not the first gen, because I couldn't afford it back then. Yeah. But by 91, 92, I was waiting tables. I was bussing dishes or bussing tables. I was washing dishes on Sunday shift, and I took a graveyard shift at CF or Yellow Freight, I think it was, working docks at midnight so I could buy this bike. And I still didn't have the money. I had to go like model finance to pay 25% interest. I had a Mervin's credit card. Remember Mervin's credit cards? Remember Mervin's?
Yeah, I mean a little bit.
I used to take Mervin's credit cards, and this is so bad. Like, I know it sounds horribly dishonest, but I'd go buy something and I would take it back, but they would only give you cash back for the difference. So I'd buy something for $200-300, and then I'd buy a pair of socks.
And float it, and then
And then to give me the cash back, and then that's how I'd make my payments. And it wasn't just that; it was such an addiction. So I had this '92 ZX7. And I know those are super commonplace. It wasn't even the R model. But man, I'm telling you, every penny I had went into that bike, everything. And I'll tell you why that bike's important. It wasn't so much about how decked out it was, right? I had a guy, Rick, over at Arcal Racing in Huntington Beach, which is just recently retired. I'm like, I want Muzzy cams, and I didn't have the money for any of this stuff. Like, I was just using my Mervyn's card and just doing whatever I could do to do this. But this bike, to me, it wasn't so much what that bike meant, but it was kind of like, oh gosh, how do I explain it? I was kind of an awkward kid growing up, and I always was. I just, I didn't go to school very much. I was traveling the world a lot. I grew up in 13 countries. I had a really rough childhood, and I just never really made a lot of friends. So that bike, I'm telling you, it was like I had like a Superman tattoo on my chest. All of a sudden, I had like 30 super close buddies. I'll put a couple pictures that I found in this video. But I had like 30 close buddies. My buddy Bryce and I, we were running from helicopters, and we had this big following of guys that hung out with us and girls and on Main Street in Huntington Beach. And it was just kind of impactful. All of a sudden, I was one of the cool guys, right? And I had this bitchin' bike, like I polished the frame, I covered up one of the headlights, I had a matching like ZX7 jacket. Like I was just, I had a Fox shock. I was so in love with that thing. But anyway, that kind of just, it did something for my self-confidence.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've always been kind of the guy in the back. I just didn't really, kind of a quiet person mostly. But that bike just changed the dynamics of everything. I met my former wife on that, which we had a couple of beautiful kids by. And I just, I don't know, it's just everything about it. And that bike, I want to replicate one day. And people are going to laugh at me.
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
It does.
Yeah.
It's got to have the polished frame.
Yep.
It's got to have, it's just everything. You'll see some pictures of it, but
there you go. I think we can make that happen.
Oh yeah, you can make that happen.
So what happened to it?
It's just as time goes on, I just kind of, oh, you know what? No, I wrecked that bike. I flipped it in a wheelie. Oh, you know what's sad is when I was looking through photos, I didn't even know I had this photo. When I was looking through photos, because I knew we were doing this, I found a photo of me, and I pretty much have no skin on my back. A lot of my skin's gone.
Oh.
And it was just one of those stupid days where I decided to wear a t-shirt. And yeah, it didn't go so well.
Was that the one that you picked it up after a service that someone did? Or was that a different
That was a different one.
Different bike? Okay.
Yeah, that
All
was
right, well, we'll talk about that one in a different video. Okay.
But again, there's been other ones. I had a TLR that I loved. I'm a big TLR fan. Had gold PM wheels, blue and white bikes. So you couldn't miss it. Yeah. There's always been a few bikes that have just kind of stuck and been, but one day I'm going to replicate that ZX7, ZX7.
Okay.
And then one day you're going to walk into my place, one of my home or something, and I'll have that silver MV.
Yeah.
And then, ideally, I'll probably still ride it, though. That's the thing. You got to ride it.
There you go.
You got to ride it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, thank you. That's fantastic. If you're watching this and you have a 92 ZX7R, as he calls it, that maybe wants to go to a good home that he won't wheelie, yeah, maybe. We'll see. But you know how to reach us. So thanks so much to Adam for answering the question. If you have any other questions you want to ask Adam or anyone else here at Iconic, let us know. And we'll keep sharing the Ask Iconic series. So thanks for watching, and thank you, my friend.
Thank you.